Welcome to Fully In It, a show for moms who are called to grow themselves while growing their families. Join me, Kate Saffel, a life and a business coach for moms, a homeschooling mama of 3, and a woman on a quest to show that our lives become even more meaningful when we remember why we are here and what truly matters most. This show is about going fully in it for you and the people you love by showing up powerfully in motherhood, entrepreneurship, in your home life, and for your family vision. Join me for weekly episodes that will inspire you to live intentionally and by your values, to slow down and truly be present to your family life, to make decisions that grow a profitable business without sacrificing anything in the process, and to become the kind of mom and woman you know you're meant to be in this lifetime. Hey, my loves, welcome to episode 115 of the Fully In It podcast. Happy Mother's Day. How are you doing? I hope that you had an incredible day with your family. And if Mother's Day wasn't quite what you thought it was going to be, if you felt disappointed, if you felt forgotten, just know that I see you, that you are worthy and valuable no matter what. And a day's celebration doesn't mean anything in the context of who you are as a mother. So I have taken the last several weeks off of this podcast, really just because I was wrapping up the launch for Expand Mentoring membership for moms in business, and then my family and I went on vacation. So it was a really busy spring for me, and I wanted to kind of catch you up on how the launch went before I actually dive into today's podcast episode. So we started the pre-launch prep in February, probably like the end of February, beginning of March. I was all in it with working on the back end materials so that when someone came into the Expand launch, that they would have a really good experience. But the really big part of it that we were doing differently this time was that I added Instagram ads. I actually worked with a strategist to get this all set up because in the past, I have done everything organically. And I'm really proud of that. I have built this business strictly through community and relationship building, getting to know you, because that's really what matters to me, is that I have deep relationships. And it's also why when people come into my containers, they stay. They want to be there because we have that foundation first. However, I'm in a season of life where I am homeschooling 3 kids, and I want to be doing that because it's part of our values. And for the level that my business is at and the amount of revenue I want to create on a yearly basis, I really needed a little extra assistance so that I'm not constantly on social media, which is what this episode is going to be partially about. So I'm not constantly on my phone, on my laptop, working when I really want to be with my family. But I do want to just caution here that it is 100% possible to grow a business without ads. And I really do not believe that any entrepreneur needs to add ads until you are much farther along in your business. It is really a whole nother beast. And what I have learned from this experience is that just because you run ads doesn't mean that it is going to just create like bonkers results, because part of the process of committing to using something like Facebook or Instagram ads or Google ads or any kind of paid advertising is that it takes time, maybe even a couple launches, to really hone in on the content, the messaging, and the strategy that brings in the most people. So again, there's organic marketing, which I focus on entirely in Expand Mentoring membership, and it's what I teach the mamas in there to do. But if your organic marketing isn't working, then ads most certainly won't. The good news for me is that my messaging is very, very clear. And so we had an incredible response to our Facebook ads, the amount of click-throughs that we were getting and people that were coming in to watch the free training that I offered. like blew my socks off. It felt like Christmas for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing because, for me, it's not as much about the money as it is about who can I help? How can I connect with her? And so I was seeing all of these new women coming in, and it just made me so happy because now I have an opportunity to build a relationship with them and get to know them and serve them and support them so that if someday they decide to come into my program, we already have that relationship. So the Expand launch was different from just about any other launch that I have ever done, in that I had everything almost entirely prepped before we started. And this was important to me because, again, I'm at a season in my business where I don't want to wing it anymore. I'm actually really good at winging it, and I've had some really successful launches in the past, like just kind of like each day being like, okay, what do I need to do? What do my people need to hear? What is the content I need to put out? And I'm at a new level in my business where I don't want to wing it anymore. And I want to have a really intentional strategy in place because this helps me to then relax and be present with my family when it's time for me to be with them and homeschooling them and enjoying their company. So everything was planned ahead of time, and we had an incredible response. We're actually getting ready to have our kickoff call coming up this Wednesday for Expand. And I cannot wait for all of the new women to meet the original members and for us to come together as a community. But we had women join from, I believe, 4 different continents, which to me is just like, that blows my mind because we've got mamas all over the world who are growing businesses, they are raising their families, and they are doing all of it with so much heart and intention. And now they get to all learn from each other. It's not just from me, right? But it's that they get to see how each is approaching this and gain from their individual wisdom. So I'm super excited for the launch, or for our kickoff call to happen this Wednesday. So shifting gears here a little bit, my family and I went to Disney World last week, and I made the decision before we went that I really wanted to be fully present on the trip. To be honest, the launch, as incredible as it went, had me on my phone and my computer way more than I would have liked. Even though I had prepped everything in advance, there was just a lot of logistics that had to be taken care of. And I do believe by the next time we launch, it will be much less. But this one required a lot out of me. And I didn't love that. I did feel like I was spending too much time away from my kids, or I was making too many concessions for the way that I was managing it all. And so by the time we got done with the launch and I knew we had vacation around the corner, I thought, this is my time to be fully present with my family. And not only do I believe that I deserve it, my kids deserve it, but I just craved it. I just wanted that uninterrupted quality time with them where there was no business, no anything. It was just us being family together. And this is so important for us to have these moments where we can really connect as a family and be intentional about it. I know it can be so easy in modern life to just keep kind of like trudging along. We're doing all of the things, we're running as fast as we can, but we need these pressure valve moments to be together. So I hope that this encourages you that even if you've been in a season of busy, that you can set aside some time to just be fully in it with your family, even if it's just a day where you turn everything off and you focus on being with them. So I decided to really turn off everything on my phone besides actually turning off the device, because I needed to, be able to receive phone calls and, do some basic things. If you go to Disney World, oh my gosh, Disney has gotten so like high tech. So they now they don't really require, but it makes it a lot easier if you have their app on your phone and you can order food from it. You can make dining reservations. You can check like ride times and park hours and all of that on your phone, which is super convenient. But it meant that I needed that app to be functioning so that I could kind of direct my family on our trip. So I locked all of the other apps on my phone, especially Instagram, especially email, especially my messengers that I use for Expand as well as with my private clients. And I let everyone know in advance that I was going to be doing this, but to be honest with you, I was really nervous about it. And I kept asking Lauren, who is my virtual assistant, but really like she's so much more than that. She's essentially like a partner, and she supports me in so many different ways, and I'm so grateful. Everybody needs a Lauren in their life. And I was talking to her before the trip, and I said, do you think people are going to be mad at me that I'm taking this time away, or that I'm going to be unavailable, or that we just signed all of these women into Expand and we're letting them into the app, the private app that we use to host all of the videos and the conversations? Do you think they're going to be upset that they're in there and I'm not? And she was like, no, they are going to be happy that you're taking a break and you get to take breaks and you are not going to be working while you're on vacation. So she gave me some tough love, and it was amazing to see how supportive all of my clients were, because they are just the most amazing women. And they get it, because they would want to be there with their families too on vacation. So I wanted to share with you some of the lessons that I learned from really unplugging for an entire trip. And this was for 5 days. So here's the first one that I realized. You don't need your phone as much as you think that you do. So right now, is your phone next to you? Are you touching it? Are you holding it? How many times a day do you touch, pick up, look at, or use your phone? For me, it was a lot pre-trip. And I would say it bordered on a really bad habit, because I wasn't even aware most of the time that I was doing it. And if you were to just kind of like bring some awareness to your phone usage this week, it could be really eye-opening for you. And maybe you don't have this problem. Maybe you actually don't use your phone that much, and that's amazing. But if you're like most of us, pay attention to your phone usage. Because what I discovered on this trip was that I could actually go hours without even remembering I had a phone. The freedom it gave me, that sense of freedom, was so amazing. See, I am 38, and I remember life before cell phones. And we just had a house phone, I don't know if you remember, right? Like it would like hang up on the wall, and you just couldn't use a phone all the time. If you left your house, you were without phone. And there was a lot of freedom in that. People didn't constantly know where we were, what we were doing, and they couldn't get a hold of us, which meant that family moments could be sacred. And now we have this like additional member of our families in the form of our cell phones. And I just don't really like that anymore. I don't think that that's necessary. And so this experiment showed me that I actually don't need my phone as much as I like to tell myself that I do. The second thing that I learned was that my emotional state, my like normal emotional state, is very peaceful and playful and grounded. But that when I have my phone constantly on me, next to me, and using it, it creates low-grade anxiety. And I had to have that break away from it to really see how it was impacting me. And for me, I believe the anxiety comes from really running a business and thinking, what emails am I going to get? What messages? Are my clients doing okay? Are they experiencing the growth that they need to be experiencing? That constant like worry of, did this payment go out? Is everything functioning how it needs to? Do I need to check in with my team members and make sure they're doing okay? That low grade anxiety was always humming in the background of my life. And I know as an online entrepreneur, if you're one as well, you can't completely disappear, but we don't also need to be constantly on our phones. And there are also ways to set things up to take care of themselves, like automating expenses, or if you grow to a point where you have a team like I do, leaning more on them and letting them take on some of those responsibilities because when you start a business, you're really doing everything yourself. I did. I was 100% all of the roles, and now I just don't have to be. So again, it's remembering I have people I can lean on. But if your natural emotional state isn't low-grade anxiety or comparison, envy, right? What are the emotions that being on social media or your phone, what are those ones that it creates for you? How would your life be differently? How would your life be different if you didn't feel those emotions on a consistent basis? When we live our life in our phone, we are not living it in the true context of our real life. Everything that matters is happening outside of your phone, not in it. And our emotional soundness comes from being in connection with our people, not with a virtual world. And we have to remember that. We have to put our phone in its place because it doesn't belong to be at the top of our priority list. So that brings me to my third point, which was I found the deepest satisfaction in my family life. So I don't know about you, but I had this habit of when I was feeling bored, when I feel bored on a daily basis or I feel uncomfortable with something, I get on my phone. I'm looking for entertainment or I'm looking for that little dopamine hit that a phone gives. And I took that away from myself the entire trip. So instead of going straight to my phone, let's say we were waiting in line for a ride and I felt the boredom creeping in because of course, we train ourselves to need that constant stimulation, I instead engaged in conversation with one of my kids. Or I did an experiment the entire trip, which I may do a whole episode on this because it was pretty incredible. But I did a secondary experiment where I looked for the details. And I told my kids this every single day. We would be walking around the parks. I'd say, look for the details, look for the details. And this really just means, in life, we can just kind of we're looking, but we're not looking. Do you know what I mean? We're seeing, but we're not really seeing. And I made that secondary commitment to really see on this trip. So when I would feel that boredom creeping in, I would open my eyes and I would look for something I hadn't seen before. And I would reflect on it and I would enjoy it. But ultimately, I enjoyed my family so deeply and I had so much fun with them. I couldn't believe how much fun I had. I enjoyed my kids on a whole new level. And I really saw this reflected on Mother's Day because it was not, nothing really crazy happened. We went to church and we came home and relaxed, and I told the kids I wanted to go shopping at Home Goods and get a coffee. I mean, super, super basic, no fancy meals or anything. I mean, we had just come off of the Disney trip. But I went through all of that day as well, and I just savored being with my kids. I just thought, how lucky am I that I get to do life with these little people? But I would not have had that experience if I had my face buried in my phone the entire day. So satisfaction in our families, we get to pursue that because we are going to miss out on so much of our life with them if we are constantly looking down instead of up into their eyes. So number 4, going forward, I am setting massive boundaries on my phone usage, and this is exactly where I want to be. And I want to encourage you that if you're listening to this episode and it's inspiring you, that you should join me in setting some phone boundaries for you as well. So this is what mine are going to look like, and think about what would make the most sense for you, especially you may have a business, but you may not have a business. You may be a working outside the home mom. You may be a homeschooling mom. It doesn't really matter what your titles are or how you use your time. It's what you value. and using your phone as a tool and remembering it is just a tool. Like the microphone that I am speaking into right now, I don't sleep with my microphone next to my pillow every night. I don't take my microphone in the car with me and like have a hand on it while I'm driving and like look over at it all the time. Right? My microphone isn't on the family dinner table when we're all gathered around it. I mean, I'm being so incredibly silly right now, but I hope that shows, like, right? Like we elevate the phone as if it's so much more than what it is. And it's really a tool for calling people and for messaging. And, at some point we turned it into a computer as well, where we can like look things up and it's this whole Pandora's box of information, but put the phone in its place. Okay. And maybe even a boundary is like, if you are prone to researching on your phone, that was a habit for me years ago, is make researching something you do on a computer that lives in a room that you only go into when it's time to do your research, right? Like that could be a potential boundary for you. When it's just on your phone all the time, it can be really hard to not like just pick it up and be like, ooh, I should look for, whatever. I should look for new furniture for the living room. It's like, no, you don't need to do that right now. You need to be with your family. So these are my boundaries. You're not going to see me on social media as much because I'm going to be more intentional with it. And my desire is to do less posting, but even better quality. My motto all throughout this year is excellency in everything that I do. Again, that's going to be another podcast episode, so we can kind of dig into that together. But I've had a lot of years of quantity. How much quantity can I put out? And it helped me to grow my business, and I don't regret it. But I'm in a season of refinement. And part of that refinement is going to be showing up on social media less, but judiciously. I'm only going to be on it for specific time blocks and then keeping all of the apps locked when they're not in use. So that means that I'm going to be jumping into Expand Mentoring membership to talk to the mamas in there just once or twice a day. And then I'm not going back into the app. I'm not going to be in there all day. Ditto with my private clients. This will allow me to be really present with my family when I'm present with my family. And then I'm doing business when it's time to do business. And I just really like having those clean lines between the two. So if that speaks to you, I encourage you to figure out where your lines are and what you need to do. But really, this ties into how I'm going to be running my business going forward. And one of the big decisions I made coming out of this launch that I anticipated, and then I made the full decision, which is that I'm going to be phasing out my general life coaching for moms. I have offered this since 2018. I have helped so many moms change their lives, and it has been the biggest gift for me, and I hope for them too. This work has completely changed my life. It's made me a better person, and I'm also in a season where I want fewer offerings available because, again, I'm splitting my time between really being in it with my family and then intentionally running my business. So at the end of May 2023, depending on when you listen to this episode, it's May 2023. May 31st is the last day to sign up for life coaching with me in my traditional package. So if you have had your eye on working with me, I can only take a few more people and then I'm going to be done. The way that you can find out more information is go to my website, happierandmotherhood.com/life coaching with Kate Saffel. And my last name is S as in Sam, A, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, L-E. So happierandmotherhood.com/life coaching with Kate Saffel. You can find all of the information there and you can apply for one of the remaining life coaching spots. However, if you have coached with me privately in the past, you get grandfathered in. So if at any point you want to come back into life coaching with me, if I have the availability, then I will be happy to let you back in, but I will not be opening this up to new clients. So that's a really big decision that I've made, and it's bittersweet, but it's also the right one for me in this season of life. And instead, I will be focusing entirely on Expand. We will have at least one, maybe two more launches of Expand this year. So if you missed enrolling in that, make sure that you get on my email list so that you can be the first to know when we reopen doors. And then I will also have a holistic life and business coaching private coaching opportunity for mom entrepreneurs. This will be going forward starting in June, and it's going to be a very high touch offer, and I'm only going to have just a few of these. So really the best place for you to be is going to be in Expand. This was a very long episode, I feel like. I think we're at like the 25-minute mark. And I hope that this gave you some things to think about when it comes to your phone usage or anything in your life that is taking a precedent that maybe it just shouldn't be. Maybe this isn't aligning with your values and you want to clean the slate going forward. I am here cheering you on and encouraging you, because this life that we have with our families is such a gift, but also time doesn't stop for us figuring it out. The time to figure it out is now, because our kids keep getting older. Let's enjoy these moments that we have with them to the best of our ability. I am sending you and your family so much love, and I will see you in the next episode.